Hinata's mom opened the door of Hinata's room to find Natsu and Shoyo cuddling in the bed. She sighed with a smile on her face and came closer to the bed. As she bent down, she began to wake Natsu up. Natsu. Natsu, sweetie, it's time to wake up. Hinata turned his head in a different direction and growled. What am I supposed to do with you two? Hinata's mom asked herself quietly as she put her hand on Natsu's cheek and stroked her face. Sweetie, it's time to wake up on Monday. Natsu yawned and slowly opened her eyes and tiddled her head in mother's direction. Hinata slowly started waking up as Natsu once again closed her eyes. Hinata mom sighed as she straightened and put her hands on her hips. You will be late for school. With those words, Natsu immediately sided up and opened her eyes to look at her mom while she shouted. I am up. Hinata opened his eyes to look up at his sitting sister and standing mother. Good morning, he said in a sleepy voice. Hinata's mother smiled and turned around to start walking to the door. I'm glad you're both awake. Natsu changes into your uniform and takes your school backpack downstairs. I will be doing breakfast, she said as she stopped in the door. Natsu jumped off the bed and ran out of the room. All right. Sweetie, if you want you can sleep a little longer. I will leave your breakfast on the kitchen table downstairs. Also, you forgot your phone there yesterday. Thank you, Mom. I will take a shower and come downstairs, Hinata said as he sits on the bed and Hinata's mom leaves the room, closing the door. Hinata rubbed his eyes and then stood up. He came to the wardrobe and opened it to choose some clothes. He didn't want to take anything that they brought yesterday because it wasn't washed yet and most of the clothes in the wardrobe were too small. The only clothes he could wear were those he brought with him from America. In the end, he chooses some simple white long-sleeve shirt and some black jeans. He took the towel and went straight into the bathroom to wash himself. Once he was done and dressed, he came downstairs. Natsu was finishing eating her breakfast and his mother was drinking her coffee while browsing on the phone. He sat down to the table and started eating his breakfast. Thank you, Mom, it's delicious. Hinata praised the food as he put rice in his mouth again. You're welcome. I'm glad it tastes good, Hinata's mom said as she looked at him and then at Natsu. She put down her phone because Natsu was eating her last bite. You finished? Yes, Natsu answered once she finished the food. All right, go brush your teeth while I will do the dishes. Natsu nodded and jumped off the chair. She ran out of the kitchen to the bathroom. Hinata's mom stood up and took the dishes to the washing machine. Sweetie, can please you turn on the dishwasher after you put your dishes in it? Of course, Mom. All right, we will be going. If you need anything, call me. Also write to me once you will be on your way back home. Hinata hummed in agreement. Okay. I love you. Enjoy your day, Hinata's mom said as she gave him a kiss on his head and went out of the kitchen. Hinata continued eating his breakfast. He could hear notices as his mother and sister were preparing to head out. After like 10 minutes he heard the main door shut. Hinata finished his food and cleared up the dishes. Then he looked around to find his phone. He lights it up to see that he got 2 new messages. One was from his manager, so he immediately opened it up to see what she wrote him. Hi Hinata. I'm sending you your schedule with details in the fee pinned to this message. Don't forget to read it though, you will be having some meetings, so be prepared when you go there. Once he settled the message from his manager, he looked up to see who else had sent him the message. To his surprise, he got a message from one of his best friends. He forgot that yesterday was Sunday and every Sunday he chats with him. He sighed. I can't answer him now. If I answered him now, the time wouldn't match. He thought to himself and decided to at least look at what the message was. Yahoo, Sho-chan. Hugging face, blowing a kiss. How are you doing? Sparkling hard eyes. Sho-chan? Are you busy? Pensive face, disappointed but relieved face. Or are you ignoring me? Loudly crying face, loudly crying face, broken heart. I guess you're bussy. Smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat. Don't forget to message me later. He smiled and then put his phone in the back pocket of his jeans. He went to the front door and put on his coat as he left the house. He locked the door and began to walk to the metro station. Hinata got out of the train and looked around. I'm finally in Miami. Hinata whispered to himself and smiled. He pulled out his phone and shared up for the map. He wrote down the destination and his current position. All right, now I need to take a metro here, and from there it's only 15 minutes of walking. He thought to himself and began to walk to the nearest metro. Once he funded it, he bought a ticket and got on. When he arrived, he once again looked at the phone and began to follow the direction he got from the app. On the way to his destination, he was doing his best to also pay attention to his surroundings and remember it, so when he will go there again, he will know the way. Hinata was finally standing right before the school gate. The school complex looked huge and he hoped that he wouldn't get lost. Technically, he shouldn't even go to the school area because he wasn't a student. But he arranged with the coach that he would come, so there shouldn't be any problem. He began to walk on the school property and looked around for a board with a map. Thanks to his luck, he found it quickly so he could look up where the gym is. He stood in front of the door to the gym and looked at the clock. He was 5 minutes early, which meant that they were still probably practicing. He started to have a dilemma if he should just go in or wait till these 5 minutes pass. He wasn't sure because the coach knew he would come, but he also didn't want to distribute them in case they were still playing a game. 2 minutes passed and he decided to open it, but once he did, a ball got to his foot. He automatically bent down and lifted it, and then he looked inside of the gym. It was huge. At least from his point of view. He saw the people on the volleyball court still practicing. Some were doing the sets, some were practicing spikes, but some were already cleaning up the gym. Then he noticed a guy slowly jogging in his direction. He could tell that the person was a lot taller than him. His head was turned in the opposite direction as he was probably looking at his teammates. He yelled at them, and after that he looked in Hinata's direction, probably looking for a ball. He raised one of his eyebrows and was clearly confused about what Hinata was doing there, but he maintained a neutral face and stopped about a meter before Hinata. Hello, the ball is ours. Thank you for the trouble to get it. Can you please hand it over? Hanamaki said after a while of thinking. He wasn't sure about what was the person in front of him doing there, and for the situation to be worse, he didn't even seem to be from this school. Hinata for a moment didn't say anything and was observing his surroundings while clearly paying attention to Hanamaki. Hanamaki started to get a little nervous, or maybe irritated. Who is this person? What is he doing there? Can he even be there? He doesn't look like he goes to this school. Does any of the teachers know about it, or do we have to let them know? Did he even hear me? Does he not hear, understand, or is he ignoring me? Thought like this was filling up Hanamaki's brain as he was starting to get more and more confused. Hello, of course I will give you back your ball, but can I ask you a question first? On the other side of the gym, Aoba and 𝒂𝒕💂 said their goodbye to their teammates and went out of the gym to the lookers. Oikawa was practicing his service and Iwaizumi with the others was finishing their practice. Some of the members already left, so there were just a few of them remaining. Kunimai and Kindaichi were preparing to head out and were picking their stuff for the bench, but Kunimai noticed that he didn't hear Hanamaki's voice for a while and lifted his head to look around. He saw him and Hinata at the enter and thought for a moment. Kindaichi noticed that Kunimai had stopped, and he also stopped what he was doing to ask Kunimai what's wrong. Kunimai? Is something wrong? Iwaizumi looked at them as he was standing a few feet distant from them holding his bottle. Matsukawa was standing beside Iwaizumi with a grinning smile on his face while he was observing Oikawa. Not really. Matsuko? Yeah. What is Hanamaki doing over there? Kunimai said as he pointed to the entry. All four of them looked at the direction and noticed Hanamaki and Hinata standing there. Matsukawa frowned. I have no idea, I thought he was getting a ball that got outside of the gym. Iwaizumi was looking quite intense at the entry because it was quite a bit far, but he could notice that the other person wasn't wearing their school clothes. Does anyone know who that person is? Maybe it's his friend or something. No. I'm pretty sure it's not. I know everyone, one of his friends from this whole town. Kunimai let a disgusted face show on him, and then he turned around to get his stuff. He told what he needed for others to notice, and that was all that mattered to him about this situation. He wanted to go to the locker ahead of 𝒃𝒂𝒕🂍 with the thought that he would wait, but once he saw how curious 𝒃𝒂�🂍 is, he sighed and knew that he would have to wait here, so he started to watch Oikawa training. So, it's some random person? He isn't wearing our uniform. Yeah, we noticed. I will go check it out. Iwaizumi said as he put down his bottle and started to jog to the door. He heard his teammate's agreement from behind him. Huh? At this point Hanamaki was clearly confused and for sure irritated. He had no idea what the person in front of him wanted. I just want to know if Oikawa Toro and Iwaizumi Hajime were here for the training. Hinata said as he was looking into Hanamaki's confused eyes. Hanamaki's first reaction was relief that the person in front of him just wanted to know if these two were here in training. But a few seconds later relief switched places with nervousness again. He didn't know if the person in front of him knew them or if he was just some kind of stalker or maybe fan of Oikawa. Does he know them? Is he a friend of theirs? Why does he need to know if they were practicing today? If he was their friend he would know? Or maybe not. If he is not their friend, then is he Oikawa's fan? Why would he ask for Iwaizumi? Or is he some perverted stalker? Should I even answer? Hanamaki took a deep breath to calm himself down. Something about the person in front of him makes him extremely uncomfortable. Sorry, but may I ask who you are? Hanamaki asked with a calm face. Hinata's eyes widened a bit in surprise. Oh, sorry. I forgot to introduce myself. Hinata chuckled a little at the fact he forgot to say who he is before asking him about Iwaizumi and Oikawa. He must have been so freaked out and confused. No wonder he seemed so uncomfortable. Hinata thought to himself, but before he could start to introduce himself, he noticed behind Hanamaki's back that someone was running towards them and was almost here. Hinata smiled once he recognized who the person is. It took him a while because he couldn't see clearly thanks to the fact that Hanamaki was standing in front of him blocking his view. Hanamaki wanted to start speaking again because he didn't get an answer and the pause was unusually long, but he suddenly felt a hand on his shoulder, and as he turned his head around, he saw Iwaizumi standing behind him with a confused look. What's going on here, Hanamaki? I was getting a ball that ran out of the gym, but this person picked it up and asked if you and Oikawa-san were in training today. I didn't know if I should answer, so I just asked who he is, and he was about to say it, but you showed up. Hanamaki started talking as he turned around and stepped back for Iwaizumi to see the person. Iwaizumi's eyes widened in surprise as he recognized the person in front of him. He stood there with no movement at all. Hinata smiled to himself and decided to use this and make fun of Iwaizumi. He cleared his throat and started to mimic Oikawa. IWHN, did you miss me? I know you missed me. I missed you. I asked this person if you have been there, but he didn't want to answer me. I'm so sad. IWHN, he's such a meanie. Hanamaki froze in shock and he didn't want to believe what just happened. At this moment his confusion overloaded, and the fact that Oikawa number 2 was in front of him kind of couldn't be processed. Iwaizumi tried to quickly recover himself and closed his eyes for a moment. The surprise was too big for him to get instantly mad at the fact that Hinata was perfectly imitating Oikawa and was clearly mocking him. He took a deep breath and pushed the surprise to the side because he knew that Hanamaki was still confused as hell and other teammates were probably starting to get curious to the point where chaos could begin. Shoyo. Iwaizumi said the name of Hinata, and Hinata quickly stopped imitating Oikawa and widely smiled at him. Yes, Hajime-kun? Hanamaki started to doubt if anything more surprising has ever happened in his life than what was happening now. We will talk about why you are here later, but could you kindly explain to me why did you came here to our school, to our gym, while we were still having practice? One single rational reason. Why would you start a chaos? Iwaizumi sighed as he felt irritated. Hanamaki used this time to get himself together. Hinata was just genuinely happy and couldn't stop smiling. Stop acting like you aren't happy to see me and show me where Toru-kun is. I want to surprise him. Hinata said as he pouted a little, and Iwaizumi just looked at him, reconciled with what would happen. He quickly reconsidered all the options he had and then gave up. Alright, but you will be the one clearing all the misunderstandings? Of course. Hinata smiled as he knew he would win. Iwaizumi started walking back to the group of his teammates that were looking their way, and Hanamaki and Hinata was right behind him. Hinata handed the ball back to Hanamaki and smiled at him. Kunimai was sitting on the bench looking at Oikawa and dozing off. Kinda Ichi and Matsukawa were looking at the trio before the door. He's taking quite a while. I hope there's no problem. Can't relate, Matsukawa said, still looking at the trio, but they started walking their direction. Kinda Ichi went quiet and looked at Matsukawa with a slight hope that maybe he's joking. Once he saw the grin on Matsukawa's face, he knew that he's serious. He sighed and looked back at the trio. It didn't take them much time before reaching these two, but before anyone could start talking, Hinata got separated and went to Oikawa. They all looked at how he stopped around 2 meters afar from him, waiting for Oikawa to serve the ball and then surprise him. They turned around and looked at each other. Iwaizumi clearly had a stressed expression, but he seemed happy. Hanamaki was still confused but managed to calm a little bit. Kinda Ichi and Matsukawa were clearly curious and were questioningly looking at Iwaizumi and Hanamaki. So Hanamaki, what were you doing there so long? Flirting with the intruder? Matsukawa asked Hanamaki teasingly. Hanamaki shot him a look and sighed. I'm too shocked to deal with this now, he said, and walked to the bench and sat next to Kunimai, who handed him over Hanamaki's water bottle. As he started drinking, Matsukawa's expression changed to surprise. It was unusual for Hanamaki to not joke around with him or get him back for his teasing. So, who is he, Iwaizumi-san? Is there any problem? Kinda Ichi asked as he politely ignored what happened. Matsukawa turned his head around to look at Iwaizumi but chose to not say anything. There is no problem. Yet. Iwaizumi paused before finishing his sentence, and before he could continue, they were interrupted by a loud sound. They looked to where it was coming from to see Oikawa jumping onto Hinata and taking him to the ground by his weight. All of them were silent for a moment and were just looking at their captain hugging some stranger while lying on the floor. Well, now I know that he's not a perverted stalker, Hanamaki said with a calm voice, thanks to the fact that he felt like he couldn't be surprised. Kinda Ichi stayed silent but couldn't hide his surprise from the scene. Matsukawa was surprised and looked at Iwaizumi. Oh my god. Is he Oikawa's boyfriend? As he asked, Iwaizumi sighed. Kinda Ichi looked in shock once again at Oikawa's and Hinata's direction. Hanamaki raised his hand and started to wave as he disagreed. Not possible. Around 2 minutes ago he was mocking Iwaizumi-san with Oikawa-san and called Iwaizumi Hajime-kun. Matsukawa whistled at the new information. So Hajime-kun? What do you have to say in this matter, Iwaizumi? Is he your boyfriend? Matsukawa said with a grind on his face teasingly. Kinda Ichi wanted to stop him for a moment because Iwaizumi looked stressed, but, in the end, he didn't do it because he knew it was pointless, and he kind of to his surprise understood why Matsukawa was saying that. No. Iwaizumi answered almost immediately. He wanted to say that Hinata was his and Oikawa's friend, but he knew that Matsukawa would just ignore him and continued teasing. He sighed and looked over to Oikawa and Hinata. Oikawa and Hinata were still hugging, and Hinata was clearly making fun of Oikawa. Hey, Shoyo. Come here, you have some explaining to do, he shouted at them. They both stopped hugging each other and Hinata started to walk back to Iwaizumi. All right. All right. No need to shout, you know, Hinata said, leaving Oikawa behind him. Oikawa looked at Iwaizumi with a disagreeable expression on his face. His face was literally saying, couldn't it wait? Iwaizumi glared at Oikawa and then he looked back at his teammates. Oikawa sighed and cashed up to Hinata. It will be best if he explains, because someone wouldn't believe me if I said we're friends. Or am I wrong? Iwaizumi looked at Matsuko to see him grinding. You're absolutely right, Matsuko said proudly and looked at Hanamaki, who was also grinding. Teasing Oikawa was something they both enjoyed, and situations like these where Iwaizumi didn't have any alibi were so rare and funny at the same time. I don't see the problem. Kinda Ichi agreed to what Matsukawa said just in the moment where Hinata and Oikawa arrived. Iwaizumi looked at Hinata and raised one of his eyebrows. Hinata chuckled to himself but bowed as he introduced himself. Hello. I'm Shoyo Hinata. You could say childhood friend of Hajime-kun and Toru-kun. I'm happy to meet you all. Thank you for taking care of Hajime-kun and Toru-kun. As he finished, he straightened his back and smiled at everybody. I'm Yutaro Kindaichi, pleased to meet you. Issei Matsukawa. Akira Kunimai. Takahiro Hanamaki. Oh right. I'm sorry about earlier, I gave you a lot of trouble and you must have been confused. As Hinata apologized, Matsukawa smirked at Hanamaki. Hanamaki noticed and knew that this will be something Matsukawa will use to make fun of him. He gave Hinata a crack smile. No worries, it was a misunderstanding. Really? I'm glad. I really didn't mean to cause trouble. But you came anyway. Iwaizumi said, and Hinata turned to him pouting. I can't believe him. I haven't seen them for so long, and even though he missed me he can't even be nice. Hinata thought to himself. What are you implying? Before Hinata could finish, Oikawa quickly put his hand between them to stop the argument that could occur. Now let's calm down, shall we? Iwa-chan, don't be rude to Sho-chan. Sho-chan doesn't start a fight with Iwa-chan when you know how he is. Shut the fuck up, Flatikawa, and what do you mean by when you know how he is? Iwaizumi glared at Oikawa and then at Hinata. Hinata for a moment didn't do anything, then he smiled and looked at Oikawa. Alright Toru-kun. He said happily and hugged him. Oikawa didn't resize and hug him back. Iwaizumi started to explain to both of them that no one cares about them being lovely-dally and how they should just wait till they get out of the gym and not bother everybody here. Oikawa as always was teasing Iwaizumi by whining, and Hinata was obviously making fun of Iwaizumi, or he purposely ignored him. The team was looking at them silently. Matsukawa and Hanamaki gave each other a quick look and grinned. They know that this will surely be fun. Kindaichi was still stunned but shrugged it off and looked at Kunimai as he picked up his stuff. Kunimai was irritated and frowned at the sight of another loud person. Then he sights and gets up to go ahead of Kindaichi out of the gym without saying goodbye. Goodbye guys, me and Kunimai will head out. See you tomorrow at morning practice. Bye. See you tomorrow. As they said their goodbye, they once again looked at the trio still going on about their fight. They didn't even notice they already went home. You know what it means? We should get our stuff and leave before they notice so we don't need to clean the gym? Exactly. Both of them grinned and quickly got their stuff from the bench and went out of the gym to the locker room.